I'm Joanne Lin, and I am the National Director of Advocacy and Government Affairs at Amnesty International USA in Washington, D.C. And I'm honored to be here today with all of you to share with you what has happened with Amnesty International India in recent months. On September 30th, Amnesty India was forced to halt its human rights work after learning on September 10th that all its bank accounts had been frozen. Unable to access any funds, Amnesty India was forced to lay off all staff and suspend all research, advocacy, and campaigning. This latest action follows 2 years of relentless threats, intimidation, and harassment by the Indian government. But this time, Amnesty India had no choice but to bring its operations to a grinding halt. Needless to say, this is a devastating setback for Indian human rights defenders, civil society organizations, and most importantly, the millions of people in India who had been aided by Amnesty's human rights work. Amnesty International does not accept funding from any governments for its research and advocacy to ensure that we can advocate and campaign with objectivity and impartiality in our mission to ensure human rights are enjoyed by all people. Established in 2012, Amnesty India worked to protect the rights of all in India, especially those most at risk, the marginalized, the victims of human rights abuses, human rights defenders, and victims of religious persecution. Between 2012 and 2020, more than 4 million Indians took action in support of one of Amnesty India's campaigns. Amnesty India grew into a movement with 100,000 donors. Amnesty India has pursued cutting-edge investigations and campaigning on a wide range of human rights issues, including extrajudicial executions, police violence against protesters, and the death penalty. Amnesty India has also fought for access to justice in Jammu and Kashmir, calling for the release of activists and journalists from administrative detention, as well as restoration of 4G mobile internet. It was in the wake of two major human rights reports that Amnesty India's bank accounts were frozen. The first report covered the February 2020 Delhi riots and documented police complicity in the violence against Muslims. The second report addressed arbitrary detentions and internet restrictions that persist in Kashmir 1 year after it was stripped of its special status. Both human rights reports contained findings critical of Indian authorities that were confirmed by other independent observers. Amnesty India has fully complied with all applicable Indian and international laws. Nonetheless, Amnesty India's bank accounts were frozen with no official notice. The Indian government's crackdown on civil society violates the rights to freedom of expression, peaceful assembly, and association, all of which are guaranteed by the Indian Constitution and international human rights law. Amnesty International USA has urged Secretary of State Pompeo and Deputy Secretary of State Began to press Indian authorities to lift the freeze on Amnesty India's bank accounts. The Indian government must guarantee the right of all civil society organizations to seek, receive, and utilize funding freely and safely. This is the first step necessary to protect the freedoms of all people in India and to ensure that human rights defenders and civil society organizations can continue to work in a safe environment for the benefit of all. Thank you.